The Bengals schedule has leaked, and we're going to be breaking it down here on today's show. But before we get into that, make sure you guys predict the Bengals record for me in the comments section right now. Is it going to be enough to get Cincinnati back in the postseason after missing out the past 2 years? Be honest with me. Get those record predictions for me in the comments right now. All right, let's get right into it here. Week 1, Cincinnati going back up to Cleveland. Perhaps a little PTSD of Week 1 a couple of years ago when you went up there and lost, but we will see. Week 2, taking on Jacksonville at home. Week 3, traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings on the road. You got your first primetime game in Week 4, traveling to Denver to take on the Broncos on Monday Night Football. Week 5, playing the Detroit Lions at home in the late afternoon slate. That should be a banger. Week 6, staying in the NFC North, taking on the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. Should be a lot of fun to see that. Week 7, another primetime game, this time at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Week 8, matchup with Justin Fields and the New York Jets. Week 9, hosting the Chicago Bears at home. And then Week 10, you have your bye right there at Week 10. I think it's a pretty good spot to have your bye, right? Not too early in the season, not too late, right? Sort of in the middle there with that Week 10 bye. Week 11, traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Another matchup with New England at home. In Week 12, playing against Baltimore on Thanksgiving night. Should be a lot of fun there. Week 13 on the road. Week 14, traveling back to Buffalo. Lots of people talking about, kind of a rematch of that playoff game a couple of years ago. That should be a fun one. Another game with Baltimore at home, Week 15. Sunday Night Football, first time on Sunday Night Football, Week 16 at Miami to take on the Dolphins. By the way, could see some more primetime games get announced as we go on here. Week 17, hosting the Arizona Cardinals, then finishing the season just how you started it, matching up against the Cleveland Browns. All right, we're going to spend a lot more time diving into each of those matchups here. Just wanted to kind of breeze through that a little bit quickly, but make sure you guys hit that sub button if you haven't done so already. That's youtube.com/BengalsTV. Several reasons why you should subscribe. We've got Cincinnati Bengals coverage for you guys here. Of course, news, rumors, analysis, you name it, we've got it here. Videos all year long, not just during the season. We've got you covered in the offseason as well, and we do have watch parties for every single game. Those are a lot of fun. Most importantly, we involve you guys with everything we do here at the channel. So help us out, help yourself out, hit that sub button for me right now. As I mentioned, perhaps a little PTSD, right? A couple of years ago when Joe Burrow had the calf injury and you didn't know if he was going to be playing or not, and ultimately he did end up playing, but you went up to Cleveland, it was rainy, it was sloppy, it was horrible, and you lost that game. So we're going to have some bad memories traveling up there for Week 1 once again. Hopefully a different result for Cincinnati this time around. Week 2, a matchup with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You've had success, right, when Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence have squared off. Overall, it's a pretty manageable first 2 games for Cincinnati. Obviously, a big important thing for Cincinnati this year is to get off on a better foot here in September. It is needed, no other way around it. And you've got 2 favorable matchups here. First home game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Week 3 is going to be difficult. Obviously, Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell, what they do, certainly a well-coached team. Obviously, they have a different quarterback. Probably going to have J.J. McCarthy up there. Who knows if he's going to be as good as Sam Darnold was for them last year, but that's your first pretty big test. It's going to be a hostile environment there in Minnesota. Those fans really get into it. Important game early in the season for Cincinnati. Then you get your first primetime game, heading up to Denver to take on Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. That should be a lot of fun. Monday Night Football, right? ESPN will be there. That will be an awesome game. And if you remember the end of last year when you took on Denver here in Cincinnati, how awesome of a game that was. You had the missed field goal there at the end. You didn't know if you were going to be able to stay alive, and then Joe Burrow made some unbelievable plays, and you won that game to stay alive at the time in the playoff race. That was awesome. Lots of anxiety in that game. Hopefully this game doesn't have as much anxiety, but it should be a banger there. This Week 5 game, really excited about Detroit coming to Cincinnati. This is really going to test where you are at this point in the season. It's supposed to be at late afternoon slot, 4:25 kick here at Paycor Stadium. And Detroit, we'll see if they can be as good as they have been the past couple of years, but this very well could be a Super Bowl preview. That's not my prediction, but there's 2 teams that certainly have Super Bowl aspirations, 2 really good football teams with a lot of good football players. That will be a fun test for Cincinnati in Week 5. And then you stay right there with the NFC North, traveling to Lambeau Field. Lambeau Field is probably at the top of my bucket list personally, so to be able to see Cincinnati playing a big-time game at Lambeau Field. Should be a whole lot of fun. Really looking forward to that one. NFC North, certainly one of the best divisions in football, and you got two tough tests there, Week 5 and Week 6. Shows you how important those first two games against Cleveland and Jacksonville are going to be for Cincinnati. Then you got another primetime game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, your first primetime game here in Cincinnati. Again, do want to make note, Bengals are going to have some extra primetime games added in as well, you would think, but I believe there's only 4 here that we are talking about right now as the schedule has leaked. But Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, always is a great game, always is a violent game. Expect that to be the same case there on that Thursday night there in Week 7. Week 8, certainly a game that you need to win, right? Hosting the Jets at home, I would imagine. As I look down here, yep, that's going to probably be a 1 o'clock game. Justin Fields certainly going to have to try to slow him down as far as the things he does with his legs out there on the football field. But Week 8 should be a win against the New York Jets. Continue with our schedule breakdown here in a second, but do want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. Let you guys know that Bengals draft hats are still out. They're still available, despite the fact that obviously the NFL draft is in the rearview mirror here at this point. You can go get them. Chatsports.com/Bengals draft hats. Got some really cool stuff up there on Fanatics. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of today's video one more time for you guys at chatsports.com/Bengals draft hats. Moving on to Week 9 here, taking on the Chicago Bears. They're kind of really going all in, right? You saw them really draft a lot of offensive pieces, help Caleb Williams out in free agency as well. Should be a good game, but certainly one Cincinnati should win as well. Week 10 is your bye. I have no issues with this bye, right? Cincinnati, I feel like, has always had pretty good fortune with where their buys have landed the past couple of years. I hate the early season buys. You definitely want to lean later in the year. Maybe you wish it was a little bit later, but Week 10, I think, is a good spot to have a bye. Hopefully that falls at the right time for Cincinnati. And then pretty quick turnaround. You're playing Pittsburgh only a few weeks later here, Week 11, traveling to Pittsburgh. Obviously, a main goal for Cincinnati in 2025 is to really improve how they play in the division. Past couple years have not been up to snuff. Those games against Pittsburgh there in the middle of your season going to be massive. Week 12, you are hosting the Patriots once again. I would imagine this is going to be a 1 o'clock kick as well. It looks like that is the plan right now. Obviously, the last time the Patriots played Cincinnati, and it was a 1 o'clock kick, it was Week 1 of last year, and you lost that football game. And really, that ended up probably being the reason you missed the playoffs. Hopefully, Cincinnati can play a lot better offensively. Obviously, later in the year, they should be humming at that point, but Week 12 against New England going to be a game that you need to win. Now we get to Thanksgiving night. Now, I would imagine this is going to be the night game, right, because Detroit always plays in the early game, and Dallas always plays in the late afternoon game, and then the night game's always up for grabs. Looks like it's going to be Baltimore and Cincinnati here. Should be awesome. Every time the Bengals and Ravens play on prime time, it's usually fireworks. Obviously, when you played Baltimore on prime time a couple of years ago, Joe Burrow got hurt, but then you remember last year how good of a game that was that you ultimately blew at the end. Hopefully your defense plays a little bit better, but that should be a banger on Thanksgiving night. We will have a watch party for that. Are you happy the Bengals are playing on Thanksgiving? Let me know. I think as a fan, I definitely would be very excited. As someone that's going to come in and do a little work, hey, there's definitely worse work that could be done, right? I get to watch football and talk about it. I'm not sitting here complaining, but, I also am usually digesting my turkey at that point. But let me know what you guys think. Are you happy Cincinnati is playing on Thanksgiving? Be honest with me in the comments. Type Y for yes or N for no. Moving on here, Week 14 at Buffalo. Cannot wait for this one. It is a little bit later in the season, so you don't know about the weather there in Buffalo. Obviously, the last time you went to Buffalo, played the Bills in the snow, you whooped them. And then you went on to play in the AFC Championship game. That was awesome. One of my favorite memories as a Bengals fan. I think everybody in Cincinnati is already fired up for this game. Should be a lot of fun seeing Josh Allen Week 14 at Orchard Park. Week 15, late season matchup with the Baltimore Ravens. Going to be critical. You get this one at home. Got to take advantage. Going to be a massive game. I would assume at this point in the season, obviously barring a disaster, Cincinnati is going to be competing for that top spot in the AFC North. Big game against Baltimore Week 15. Week 16, another known primetime game here. Bengals traveling down to South Beach to take on Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. That should be a lot of fun. The Bengals' furthest flight they have to take actually is this game to Miami. Should be a lot of fun. Joe Burrow, Miami, primetime. I mean, what more could you ask for? Bengals have had success against Miami in the past. Hopefully that continues here in Week 16. Another prediction for you guys that I would like to hear. Where will the Bengals finish in the AFC North? Let me know. Obviously, first, second, third, or fourth. I think really most logical people would either say first or second. I think you can kind of go back and forth with Baltimore. Most people nationally would say Baltimore is the better team. But as a Bengals fan, be honest with me. Where do you think Cincinnati will finish in the division? Two more games that we will get to here on today's show. Week 17 against the Arizona Cardinals. You're going to get that game at home as well. I know as we sit here in May, certainly a game you should be favored in. We'll see what Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals are made of at that point. And then you're finishing the season just exactly how you started it, with another matchup with the Cleveland Browns. I like this a lot. I like starting with Cleveland. I like ending with Cleveland. Hopefully for Cincinnati, it is 2 wins as well. One more time for you guys. Asked you guys at the top of today's show, but do want to remind you to get those predictions for me of the Bengals record in 2025. Get those predictions in the comment section of today's show. And on a video tomorrow, we're going to have our predictions here at the channel. So make sure you stay tuned for that.